That would have been bad. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy and Nate, and we are doing a live tropical weather discussion here, discussing the newly designated potential tropical cyclone 3 that could most likely turn into a tropical storm here. So we're doing this live for anyone who's watching this after the fact. So if I pause and do all sorts of stuff to answer questions and stuff, then you understand the reason why. But yes, this is really something that we're going to have to watch out for. Ironically, we are not doing severe weather coverage. It's kind of interesting there. But hello, what's up, everyone in the chat? How's your evening tonight? And we're going to be talking about this as this continues to progress over and over. I was going to make a video, but I was actually at the amusement park here today, and so I didn't really have a good opportunity to do so. So I'm doing this. I'm doing a live analysis for you all so that I can answer questions for most of you. So please do me a favor. Please like the live stream so that we can get this information out to more people who may need it. Subscribe if you are new. Turn on notifications so that you guys are up to date with all the content. And share this with friends and family and on social media. As I said, Facebook, Twitter, stuff like that. There's a lot of activity here that's going to be heading off. And so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. The recently designated potential tropical cyclone 3 has been designated. It's moving north at 9 miles per hour with a minimum pressure of 1,007 millibars with a maximum sustained wind of 30 miles per hour. So not exactly tropical storm strength, but it's still something that we definitely have to watch out for. And as a matter of fact, if we take a look at the forecast cone here, we're going to open the image in a new tab just so everyone will be able to see. It does end up trying to develop into a tropical storm. So this would most likely be Tropical Storm Claudette here. That would be heading off into the general vicinity of Louisiana, according to the National Hurricane Center. And so this is definitely something that we're going to have to watch out for. And the warnings have already been set out. There's already tropical storm warnings across portions of southeastern Louisiana, coastal Mississippi, and Alabama. And so really something we're going to have to watch out for, especially with the chance of some significant flooding from the rainfall as well as the storm surge here in some of these areas. But there's your forecast cone, your forecast track for potential tropical cyclone 3. And as this continues to move about off to the north, it will end up curling off to the north and east. And that's when it could potentially get into these areas here of the deep south before kind of curling off further towards the Carolinas. So definitely something that we're going to have to watch out for as this continues to move about. Now, if we take a look at the satellite imagery here, we're actually going to take a look at the infrared loop first. There you go. So here's the infrared satellite data, and you can see off of this a lot of thunderstorm activity here in this general vicinity. But the actual area to watch is this little spin right within here, and of course a new frame comes in, and so that is the that's just a general broad low pressure system that really is trying to consolidate. But this was where the original Invest 92L was. Now we are watching this thunderstorm activity right within here to where there could potentially be another area of low pressure. And that's where you could potentially see your tropical system as this continues to unfold here. So I'm thinking the timetable of tonight into tomorrow morning as to when we could potentially be seeing this thing to actually start to ramp up more or less and become a lot more consolidated. So definitely something that we're going to have to monitor, because the intensity for tropical systems is always very difficult to forecast. The path, maybe not as much as it once was, not as much of a toll. I'm still new to the tropics, so I'm continuing to learn every day, but even the experts, it's pretty hard to actually track intensity with tropical systems with pinpoint accuracy. And so we're really going to have to watch out for what this thing does after it becomes a tropical system and how it continues to progress. So definitely something to keep in mind with all of that. Now, the interesting thing that I want to note with the satellite imagery is you guys can see these little kind of feather stick things here within the clouds. And so that actually is tropical flow. It's really interesting to see, but that is tropical flow there. The ventilation from all the convection here, the deep thunderstorm activity, very strong thunderstorm activity happening across portions of the Yucatan Peninsula. That actually is a lot of ventilation that is spreading out from those thunderstorms. And so just by looking at this, this does have some strong thunderstorm characteristics, but we're really going to have to watch out how this tries to consolidate, because you can have all sorts of this ventilation all you want, but if you don't get something with general spin right within here, you won't have a tropical system. That's just how that works. So nothing really too much to say the least with that. Let's see. I got an alert, so I must, there we go. Marisa Andy with the $5 super chat says, "Bless you, Nate. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate the $5 super chat. It means a lot to me, so thank you." Actually, what in the world? There we go. Fixed it. Boom. But yeah, there's your satellite imagery there with your infrared satellite. We're basically taking a look at the thunderstorm tops, and the higher the thunderstorms, the colder it typically gets because it's at the upper parts of the atmosphere. And so we take a look at those temperatures to be able to determine as to how strong the thunderstorms actually are. Now, if we take a look at the water vapor imagery, this exactly says what the name entails. It looks at water vapor. And so the brighter the color, the more moist the actual environment is. The darker it is, however, such as areas like this up here, that is a lot of dry air right in the atmosphere. And so definitely something to monitor as that continues to move about, because if this dry air does seep in around the tropical system, then you could potentially see this thing to not completely be one of your classic tropical systems to hit, to move on through, I should say. But this is really interesting to say the least as this continues to progress on forward with how much activity is here. And just by looking at all of the thunderstorms that really kind of push on through, push about, it's, hold up. What in the world? Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, just by looking at all the thunderstorms, how fast they actually are moving over here compared to how fast the thunderstorms are moving in that general vicinity, this speed shows you the strong wind shear in place that's basically displacing the thunderstorms from the area to watch. And so, really interesting. Really interesting to say the least. I do want to take a look at some of these other graphics here from the National Hurricane Center. First things first, I do want to show you the arrival time of winds. So this is for tropical storm force winds for you all. And this is pretty helpful for people who want to know exactly when these thunderstorms could potentially be arriving at the general vicinity. Which, by the way, Nicholas, thank you for subscribing, liking, and clicking the bell, which it really helps my channel out a lot with YouTube's algorithm and getting the information out. Let's take, as I said, arrival time of tropical storm force winds here. So this is a very interesting graphic here just by looking at this. Within these little lines, actually, I'm going to try and open this image in a new tab for you all. There you go. So within these little lines right here, this can tell you as to what time you could start seeing your tropical storm force winds. And so by Friday around 2 p.m., that's when you guys could potentially start seeing hints of high-end tropical depression, tropical storm force winds, which would be 30 to 40 miles per hour as that continues to move about. But really interesting to say the least, because by Friday evening, that's when you have most of your activity that really is starting to surge onshore. And as this continues to move about all the way through, um, overnight Friday into Saturday morning, that's when most of these areas here in the deep south will most likely see your tropical storm force winds. So really nice graphic to look at for just basically timings and all sorts of stuff like that. Let's take a look at the U.S. rainfall amount from this tropical system here, and this is preliminary here to say the least, but it still gives us a rough estimate as to how much rain could be falling in some of these areas. So light green is about 1 inch, dark green is about 2 to 4 inches, yellow is 4 to 6, and then your orange is 6 to 10 inches. I saw in some areas and on some other models that could be higher, and the Weather Prediction Center and the National Hurricane Center also acknowledged that some isolated amounts to where there could be a bunch of runoff or just a bunch of collected water from storm surge and rain. You could have higher amounts of flooding due to all this collection. So heavy amounts of rain here for portions of the NOLA areas, New Orleans, all the way up to Biloxi and Mobile, Alabama. And on top of that, we do also have the threat for storm surge here. We can take a look at the storm surge forecast right within this area. I'm going to try and see if I can open the image in a new tab. There we go. And so this is pretty useful to see how high your storm surge is actually going to be in some of these areas. So from Cameron, Louisiana to Intracoastal City, Louisiana, we're not expecting a whole lot of storm surge for you all. We're not actually anticipating significant amounts of storm surge here quite yet. I mean, this is a tropical storm that we are expecting to hit the coast here, but 1 to 2 feet of storm surge is expected with that on top of the rain that could be within your area. And then from Vermilion Bay, Intracoastal City, all the way over to Venice, all the way down through to the Mississippi-Alabama border, 2 to 3 feet of storm surge is expected from this. So it's a little bit higher, and especially since some of these areas over here could have 6 to 10 inches of rain, you can also add an additional 1 to 3 feet of storm surge on top of that, and that could create some significant flooding along the coastal areas, especially near Biloxi, due to the fact that Biloxi is a relatively populous area, and they do have that populous area basically right next to the coast, as well as areas around New Orleans. Most of the land there is below sea level, and so with all of that activity, as that continues to surge in through with all the damaging winds from this tropical storm that could be named Claudette, that could potentially create some higher amounts of storm surge. Areas in the Mobile Bay area, 1 to 3 feet of storm surge. You'll probably see the lesser amount of storm surge in the beginning, and then it will translate later on to like a late Saturday night event for you all. So like maybe Saturday morning to Saturday night, that's when you guys could potentially get your higher amounts of storm surge. And then Lake Pontchartrain, that Lake Pontchartrain, that general area could potentially see storm surge in upwards of 1 to 2 feet. So really something we're going to have to watch out for as this continues to move on through. And yeah, there could be some pretty gnarly flooding for areas that are basically right near huge bodies of water. I'm going to see if there's anything else actually that I should talk about. Doesn't look like I should, so I'm going to show you a couple things here. Couple things from this. You're going to Galveston soon. Will this tropical system affect the Galveston area in Houston? Most likely not. You guys might have some damaging winds from it, but it might not be like all too significant for you all. Let's take a look at the satellite, the interactive satellite with the Hurricane Hunter track here. And the Hurricane Hunters actually went out on a mission here today. The Hurricane Hunters went to go explore this invest to see if they can find a center area of low pressure and see if they can try and designate a tropical system from all of this. But unfortunately here, there isn't really all too much to report from this due to the fact that most of the winds is not really as too consolidated. What you want in a tropical system is that you kind of want winds that could spin around and rotate counterclockwise. And if you have winds that kind of differ from that, to where they kind of just curl off to the side like this or something like that, then it's not a complete tropical system. It's not a well-organized tropical system quite yet. It's just basically a huge mess, if you will. So really interesting to say the least. But the hurricane hunters did go in. They did try to find some activity there. You can see how their track went on through and how they went through all of these thunderstorms with the satellite here. And so definitely something that we're going to want to monitor. And if I do go live for the landfall of this tropical system, which I probably will only for this tropical system as an exception because it's the first tropical system to make landfall in the United States. But if we do live stream that landfall, then well, and if they have the hurricane hunters that are that will be going through the actual system, if they do actually go through the actual system live, we'll be able to show you guys this live as this continues to progress and as this moves on through. But still, really interesting to say the least as to how this was the first mission going into the invest. They didn't find a whole lot. A lot of stuff is really organized with this system, but they do see a little bit of improvement with the surface winds here going up to 30 miles per hour. So this is the infrared satellite again. We're looking at the cloud tops, and the higher the clouds are, the colder it typically gets in the atmosphere. And so just by looking at the infrared satellite, we'll be able to see how tall those thunderstorms actually are just by looking at how cold the tops of them are. So really interesting to say the least. A lot of these reds and blacks here indicate some very deep thunderstorm convection, and that's typically where your stronger thunderstorms are associated. But we'll talk about that a bit later. What we're going to talk about right now is the models. We're going to take a look at the ensemble models here first before we talk about the actual model showing the damaging winds going into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. So just give us a second. We're rolling on through. We're kind of trucking on through. Self-promotion time. If you guys do enjoy the content, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family, and on social media like Facebook and Twitter so that we can get this information out to as many people as possible. By liking the video, you actually do that as well by getting this to as many people possible, just by tweaking YouTube's algorithm so that I may be able to appear onto people's recommended feeds. And especially if they don't know that this stuff is happening, this could potentially be helpful to people who may not know what is going on. So definitely something that I would appreciate if you guys would help me out there. Now let's take a look at the GFS ensemble models here. And this is basically a lot of little mini runs within one giant model run. And so we can basically gather a consensus by looking at these little mini runs and drawing a mean or drawing a line in the middle of them to basically give us a general idea as to around where this tropical system could make landfall. So the high resolution portion of the GFS says it will make landfall around the intracoastal area. There's also the mean of most of the spaghetti models saying that it will make landfall near Cameron. So that's definitely interesting to see as this continues to move on through. But regardless, most of these models do indicate that this will make a landfall somewhere here in Louisiana. And then if we take a look at the multi-model guidance here, just by taking a look at all these different little model runs, I'm going to open this up here, and there we go. You can see how most of these models start out down to the south, and then they very rapidly curl off to the side. And you can see how all of these models actually say that it will make landfall somewhere, or actually most of the models, but they will make landfall somewhere here in between Cameron, Louisiana, and Venice, Louisiana. And so definitely something that we're going to want to watch out for as this continues to move on through. I do not think this will head off into Texas, to be completely honest with you. And even then, some of these areas in Texas could potentially see nothing from this tropical system, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But really interesting to see how the models are really trending towards a landfall here, right around the intracoastal city areas. And we'll update you, or at least I will update you as time goes along. As I said, this was supposed to be the lengthy video that I was going to upload tonight, but I was at the amusement park, and so I didn't really have a whole lot of time to set myself up. So I decided to do a live stream to interact with you all and all sorts of stuff like that. But tomorrow morning, I will be uploading a video. It'd be a short, well, not exactly a short video, but it'd be a video around 25 to 30 minutes long, something like that, which will give you guys all the information you may need on this tropical system and all the latest information, I should say, as to how this will progress, how this will get closer and closer towards areas along the coast of the Gulf of Mexico. And so if you guys turn on notifications, I'll be able to get that information to you all so that you guys may stay up to date. But yeah, that's really interesting from the ensemble models there. Now we're going to take a look at the Euro model. Should we take a look at, you know what? I'll let you guys decide. Should we take a look at the GFS, the Euro, or the HWRF model? The HWRF model exaggerates a lot. So I think my recommendation is we save that for last. But, I kind of want to take a look at the GFS. Either the GFS or the Euro, and then we'll show the HWRF model later. People are saying Euro, GFS. One person says GFS. A couple people say Euro. Don't I I do have this. I got an idea. Actually. I didn't know we had this, but there we go. There's the poll. It's in the chat. Go vote. I didn't even know this was a thing. I really did not know that was a thing, but oh my goodness. Yep, a lot of people want to look at the GFS first. Well, that is honestly understandable. So that is what we shall do. GFS is the way to go, so we shall take a look at the GFS here. Just keep in mind, this is for disclaimer for anyone who are looking at models, whether it's in the future or not. There we go. We'll end the poll there. These models are not, they're not pinpoint accurate, all right? Just because they show something on here doesn't mean it actually will happen. It just gives us an idea as to what could happen. You know what I mean? So, we're going to take a look at the surface wind here. We're going to take a look at the surface sustained winds here from this tropical system. And let's see. Best way to do this is, if you want to keep up with the timing, take a look up right here. This is in Eastern Daylight Time. I live over here in Eastern Daylight Time, so that's basically that. If you want it in Central Daylight Time, you just subtract it by 1 hour for that. And then if you want to take a look at the maximum wind speed, it's very hard to see, but it's at the bottom right-hand corner right there. And I'll even tell you guys as to what the maximum is in some spots. But here's the GFS model. And according to the GFS here, late Thursday, we could potentially, or latter stages of Thursday into Friday, we do have some very strong tropical storm, well, not tropical storm force winds, tropical depression force winds here in the central portions of the Gulf of Mexico. And as this continues to progress into Friday morning, into Friday afternoon, you can see these damaging winds start to intensify further into tropical storm force winds. According to the GFS, this actually has an upwards of 42.4 miles per hour here that is slamming the coast right within that area. And then a new band of thunderstorms to potentially reignite as this heads on through could be impacting places like Biloxi and creating more tropical storm force winds, 40.9 mile per hour winds expected with that, according to the GFS. And then as that continues to move on through, by early morning on Saturday, that's when we'll see our landfall, according to the GFS, with strong damaging winds up upwards of tropical storm force, and even there's some strong damaging winds according to the GFS over here near Mobile, or south of Mobile, and upwards of 45 miles per hour. So really something interesting as this continues to move on through. But yeah, that's on Saturday morning as to when some of these damaging winds could be hitting that coast. Well, Friday into Saturday, that's when you'll really see your impacts here from this tropical system. Friday night into Saturday morning. And then as this continues to move on through, as this tropical system continues to kind of spin about right within here, you still have some potential for some storm surge right within here. As a matter of fact, this goes back to what I was talking about, to where the latter stages of the landfall of the tropical system could basically create higher amounts of storm surge within some of these areas here near Mobile Bay. And so that's what I was talking about with the storm surge, the storm surge outlook from the National Hurricane Center. But a lot of strong damaging winds over there. That'll continue to move on through even into the overnight hours of Saturday into Sunday. And that'll continue to move on through out of the general vicinity by Sunday into Monday. And that'll basically get out of your hair. Now let's take a look at the Euro model here. Euro is pretty interesting with this as well. And so latter stages of Thursday into Friday, this the Euro actually says that these thunderstorms will actually become a lot more intense, potentially in upwards of 43.6 mile per hour winds within that deep convection at the center area of low pressure. So it would be right within here, right around this little spin, right within that drop. There's also another little area of spin that I was talking about earlier, but that's going to merge with, or potentially merge with, the tropical system up to the north that is recently developing from that deep convection over to the side. And 44.6 mile per hour winds with that one. With this is what I'm seeing as this continues to get closer and closer towards Louisiana on Friday evening into Saturday. Some of these winds could be reaching an upwards of tropical storm force winds, maybe even higher in some spots. And then as this continues to get closer and closer to making a landfall here by a little bit past midnight here in Louisiana, that's when more storm surge, more rain could basically just be dumped over these areas that have had so much over the past 2 weeks. And so you could potentially see your flooding not only from the rain, but from your storm surge that you were experiencing earlier. So definitely something that we're going to want to monitor. And then the same thing shows for the Euro as it did for the GFS. Intensifying winds here in the Mobile Bay area could create higher amounts of storm surge for some of those areas too. So just because you're not anywhere near the tropical system, like the center of the tropical system where it makes landfall, does not mean that you won't experience some pretty significant conditions, because you could even see some storm surge in other areas as well. Now, I do want to take a look at the wind gusts here real quickly in miles per hour. I'm just curious. So I'm seeing 52.7 miles per hour in some spots. 55 miles per hour I saw as a wind gust. 60 miles per hour is a wind gust. Yeah, 60. So wind gusts could be in upwards of 60 miles per hour as well, on top of the sustained winds of tropical storm force at around 40 miles per hour. So really interesting to say the least. Ro and Liz Castaneda with the $20 super chat says, keep up the good work, Nate. I need to buy merch. Everyone here should. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I'll be trying to get out that merch again here. We had some technical difficulties, but I'll be able to get that merch line back out to people who may want to purchase it. And so if you guys want to hang tight for that, if you guys want to purchase some Nate Snyder merch, feel free to do so. It's pretty interesting to say the least. It has some of my quirks and catchphrases that I say on live stream or in my videos. And so if you want to stick around, feel free to do so. I feel like this is a good time for me to introduce myself to people who may be new to my channel. So give me a second here. But hello, my name is Nathan Snyder, Nate Snyder here on YouTube. And I upload videos almost every single day to cover any sort of weather, whether it's severe or tropical. I try to cover it for you all to try and keep people safe. And so if you guys want to stick around for all sorts of that, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. All right, we are an open community here. We live stream quite a bit to talk about all sorts of weather. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll try and get it to you as much as possible. But we try and get all sorts of information out for you all as this as any sort of weather unfolds. So even further deeper into the tropics, say we get some hurricanes and stuff like that that could impact the United States, I'll be right there for you all, giving you all information. So feel free to stick around if you need to. Feel free to stick around. Now let's take a look at the HWRF model. This typically does really well with any sort of landfall. So when this system shows an area that could potentially make a landfall, then it's really spot on. But the intensities could be over exaggerated due to the fact that this model can predict rapid intensification, but every single time it tries to predict a tropical system, it basically assumes that every storm will rapidly intensify, more or less, and so it over exaggerates weaker tropical systems. But with the HWRF model, the interesting thing to say from this is that it does say sustained winds could be in upwards of 50 miles per hour here, maybe even 55 or 60 miles per hour as it gets closer and closer towards the coast. So, as I said, we're really going to have to watch out for how these thunderstorms progress and evolve into a more defined tropical system. But as of right now, it doesn't seem to be all too organized. And we're basically waiting for some sort of convergence to really fire up overnight here, tonight into tomorrow. And that's when we'll really start to talk about the threat for this thing to potentially intensify further. People said this new advisory that's out, which I don't blame you all. It's 11 o'clock. And there you go. So here's the new advisory. Nothing has changed from it. Nothing has changed from it. The potential tropical cyclone remains poorly organized as it moves over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, expected to bring heavy rainfall and flooding to the northern Gulf Coast. So that's nothing new. We just talked about that. So that's the good news. But yeah, 30 mile per hour storm still, 1007 millibar storm. That's the minimum pressure, moving north at 9 miles per hour. Same old, same old. Now let's talk about this tropical system here with the impacts, because we do want to get a little bit in depth with this system here. And we talked about earlier as to how this could potentially get some dry air to wrap around the side of it. And it could basically make this system look a bit deformed, if you know what I mean. So what I'm talking about here, and I will show you all this from a moisture perspective. There's the 4-panel relative humidity. We're going to be looking at different parts of the atmosphere to actually show us the humidity of these tropical systems. Then that will basically help us with finding dry air and seeing if that will impact the tropical system at all. Because tropical systems do not like dry air. They want everything to be moist. They want everything to be warm. And they don't like a whole lot of wind shear. And if one of those things set it off, then it basically sets the rest of the stuff off for the tropical system. So we do have a little bit of dry air north of this system here in the mid levels of the atmosphere. This is the lower level part of the atmosphere within this square. Mid levels right here, and then the upper levels right here in this box in the bottom right. And so we do have a little bit of dry air. Actually, who am I kidding? We have a lot of dry air there in the mid levels of the atmosphere. And as this continues to move about with how much tropical activity is here indicated in this green with how moist it is with all of these thunderstorms, this tropical system will actually begin to start to interact with that dry air as this continues to move further north, because it is moving into that general vicinity. You can see how the dry air wraps around the southwestern quadrant of the system, which if you were to basically draw a giant T or a giant plus sign and to separate the tropical systems into northwestern, northeastern, southeastern, and then southwestern, if you were to separate it all that way, you'd be able to see here what I would be talking about with how the southwestern quadrant has a lot of dry air seeping around with it. And so what that basically means here is that there will probably be less organized thunderstorm activity over there, a lot less actually cloud activity over there to begin with. And so it won't be exactly an all too organized tropical system. It'll be kind of like a half and half, to where the northern, eastern, and southern side of the tropical system, or basically the northwestern, northeastern, and southeastern quadrants of the actual tropical system will basically have some thunderstorm activity, but the southwestern portion of it really won't, due to the fact of that dry air seeping into the rear of the tropical system in that general vicinity. But still, something interesting to make a note of, and that dry air could actually weaken the tropical system further as it continues to move on through. But the thing of it is that it's already making a landfall, so it's not like it was supposed to intensify over land significantly. So the dry air is kind of more or less a structural thing for the tropical system. But if this tropical system was a bit further into the water and that dry air was seeping in, then I would say that this tropical system probably would be a short-lived tropical storm and then probably fizz out a little bit due to all the dry air. Now, the interesting thing about this is that I was talking about wind shear here with this system. I'm going to take a little sip of my water, actually. Beautiful. I might have to get another water bottle here. Do I have another water bottle? I do have one over there. All right, I can go get it a little bit later. So the interesting thing about this tropical system here is that it is encountering a little bit of wind shear. And according to the Euro, if we go back over here, there is a huge trough right within here. Very strong winds that are pushing thunderstorms out and away from the system. And we can even see that there. If we go back to the infrared satellite of all this, we can excuse me, we can see all of those thunderstorms racing off to the north and east, compared to some of these other storms that are over here in Mexico in the Yucatan Peninsula. They're not really moving all too fast, whereas these thunderstorms over here are racing off to the east, even to the northeast in some spots. So a lot of activity right within there as that continues to move about with the wind shear. So we'll go back over here to that wind shear right within here. That is your strong wind shear right there. And that wind shear will back off just a smidge off to the west because we do have a low pressure system over here that will be heading off to the west at the same time. And as I said, we can even see that low pressure system here in the water vapor imagery a little bit. Little bit of these bands actually. So not exactly, you can see it. You can't exactly see it exactly. But you do have a little bit of those bands indicating from that low pressure system where it is. So it'd be a little bit further north, probably in Arkansas or Oklahoma. But it's right there, and that tropical system does move a bit further off to the west, creating a space to where this trough could potentially move off a bit further to the north and even west to where this tropical system could potentially move on through and make a landfall within some area along Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Most likely Louisiana, though. Most likely Louisiana. But experiencing a lot of wind shear, a lot of these thunderstorms that'll form around the center area of low pressure will move away from the actual center area of low pressure. So on top of all the dry air seeping around, there will also be a lot of wind shear preventing thunderstorms from getting down to that southwestern quadrant. And so lack of thunderstorm activity within this area right here. There will be a exceptional amount of lacking of thunderstorm activity. There will be a lot of dry air that will seep in behind it, as we discussed previously. And that will basically keep this system at bay to where it won't intensify further as it gets closer and closer towards Louisiana. I am not in Louisiana myself, no. But yeah, a lot of wind shear here with this. And then last but not least, we're going to take a look at the sea surface temperatures here. There we go. Now, anywhere, if we go down to the scale here, that's not it. It's not helpful. Okay, so this is over in April, just for laughs here. Just by taking a look at the sea surface temperatures here in April, you're going to want to be in temperatures around these yellows and above, particularly in some of these oranges and above, in order to get the chance for some tropical systems to actually form or sustain. Anything lower than that in like greens or blues, forget it for the most part. It's very, very, very low, not as warm and moist. And so thunderstorms probably won't form off of that. And they won't even consolidate in some areas. Now, the interesting thing about this, don't even know the whole talking about it in Pennsylvania. Well, it's up to you to interpret my data however way you want to. I mean, I know my capabilities. If you want to watch, you can, but yeah. As I said, sea surface temperatures, you're gonna want to be higher than some of these yellows for the most part. So if we go fast forward to today, we have a lot of these yellows over here, but we have reds, browns, and stuff like that all across the board here, all over the Gulf of Mexico here. Very warm, rich moisture here. Very warm, rich sea surface temperatures, I should say, across the board within the Gulf of Mexico. And so this is favorable for thunderstorms to continue to explode, and we've been having that for quite some time. A lot of thunderstorms that have been forming, but because it's a bit later on in the evening, thunderstorms may not be forming as much, but we could expect to see a little bit more of an explosion of thunderstorms later on into tomorrow morning, and that's when we could start to see our system to start to consolidate. But very warm temperatures across the board here in the Gulf of Mexico, and so we are expecting this to potentially start to kind of wrap up with all the convergence and all the thunderstorms hitting each other and continue to move about. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about here? We could talk about the rainfall rate. Definitely think we could. But real quickly, I do want to... There's not a whole lot of severe weather happening right now, actually. Yeah, for people who are curious, I also do coverage for severe weather as well. So let's briefly touch on that real quickly. Briefly touch. We do have a 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale here today. We do have a 3 out of 5. So a 1 out of 5 is indicated here in this dark green, 2 out of 5 in the yellow, 3 out of 5 in the orange. And so definitely something you guys are going to want to watch out for, especially with a 30% chance of seeing 1-inch size hail or larger indicated in the red. You also have a 5% chance in brown and 15 in yellow. And on top of that, you also have this black circle with dotted lines and stuff like that. That is indicative of the potential of having a 10% chance or greater of 2-inch size hail or larger within a 25-mile radius. Pretty significant hail that is possible with those storms. We also have pretty expansive wind risk here. 5% in brown, 15 in yellow, 30 in red. And so whatever probability you have, that is your chance of seeing 58-mile-per-hour winds within a 25-mile radius. And then you also have this black circle with dotted lines in the middle. And so that is indicative of the potential for hurricane force winds within a 25-mile radius. 10% chance within that area. So really something to watch out for. And then a small risk here for tornadoes. 2% chance indicated in green, 5% in brown. So whatever probability you have, that is your chance of seeing a tornado within a 25-mile radius. Now, I don't think this will come into fruition, honestly. I think it's I think this event is not as significant as people think it is, but from a hail perspective, I definitely think it could be. I definitely think it could be, because we've already had reports of 3-inch size hail in some spots, even 2.5-inch size hail, which is, I believe, tennis balls. So tennis ball size hail in some of those areas. But yeah, we definitely have a very expansive severe risk here from this. And you can even see all the thunderstorms that we're moving on through right within here. You can see the nice little loop that we have for you all. "70-mile-per-hour severe in Arizona. Why am I not surprised?" We'll take a look at that real quickly with Radar Omega. Oh, it's a dry thunderstorm. Well, that makes sense. That's not really too much to analyze then. Not really too much to analyze. All right, let's go back to this tropical system here. Let's go back to this. We'll do G16 mesoscale. I don't know why it's not showing up. That's kind of interesting. Maybe it's not. Oh, there we go. Well, that makes sense. I'm trying to find something here for you all. Okay, so here's, you know what? This is good enough. This is some good enough satellite imagery for you all. So you can actually see how intense the thunderstorm activity was before this really started to consolidate. But a very broad area of thunderstorms here with the satellite imagery. And if I can actually find, go mesoscale 2, go experimental 3D, and boom. There we go. Now we can see the thunderstorms and all sorts of stuff like that. Pretty cool, pretty cool. We can see how high they actually are. So that's pretty gnarly. Now, can you guys imagine when we see a, when we could be seeing a hurricane with this? With any sort of tropical system this year? I hope it doesn't happen, but can you imagine seeing a hurricane with this 3D? That would be absolutely insane. But some pretty gnarly 3D activity from this. Very gnarly 3D activity with this. Sheesh. So we'll turn the 3D off here again. Here's the track, as I said. The track actually, according to the National Hurricane Center, they think it'll most likely go right over Morgan City. But then areas like Grand Isle, Golden Meadow, they're like right on the edge of the track. So I believe I actually might have a live cam over there in Grand Isle, so that if we do live stream the landfall of this tropical system, we'll be able to have a camera for you all. I honestly need to find more cameras along the coast and stuff like that. Or at least make a program for it. But I don't know, if someone wants to make a program, whether it's in Python or C# and stuff like that, you totally should email me, hockeyboyinnate@gmail.com, because I do have 2 ideas of programs, and I tried to make it myself, but unfortunately it just didn't work out that way. So if other people are, if other people can make programs and stuff like that, whether it's via a website or an actual program, then hit me up. That would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, there's the track. And the interesting thing about this system is that the National Hurricane Center actually thinks that this could potentially have 45-mile-per-hour winds with the system as it makes landfall, with maximum wind gusts and upwards of 60 miles per hour too. So very interesting, to say the least. People are asking about tomorrow, so or Saturday, so I might as well give it to them. There's your risk for Saturday. I will probably be live streaming this event. Probably. It's a massive wind risk, so it's not going to be like a huge tornado risk. But I kind of want to live stream it anyways, just for severe weather analysis and stuff like that. But yeah, that's on Saturday. Is this on Saturday? No, it's on Friday. I'm sorry, not Saturday. This is Friday. Jeez, I'm tired. I've had a long day here, chat. I've had a long day. So that's the outlook there for tomorrow. Probably, as I said, probably will be live streaming it. Probably will. It'll most likely be a wind risk. Most likely. Baka is in Japan? Yes, it is. Baka mitai. But yeah, most likely will be a huge damaging wind risk. Do I think there's any chance for a potential tropical cyclone 3 or Claudette to become a hurricane? Personally, I don't think so. I think it'll be a at maximum. This is the very max 60-mile-per-hour tropical system, but I personally think it'll stay within the 45 to 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm conditions. What's gonna happen in Detroit? Detroit will be like on the edge of this system as it moves on through, so it may not exactly be a whole what's the word? May not be impacting you directly, but you guys could get something. Oh, what is that? I'm gonna have to watch that system there. It's just two separate thunderstorms. My goodness. It almost looked like a hook there for a second, but it wasn't. It's not. It's not. So nothing tornadic there with that. But yeah, I think at maximum it'll be 60, but I honestly think it'll be around a 45 to 50-mile-per-hour storm. So yeah, that's the risk for tomorrow. That's that's the talk about Claudette there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I do want to look at one more thing here. Take a look at the euro again. And we're going to take a look at rain rates. So we'll look at the deep south here. Take a look at precipitation. We'll go to 6 hours. And we're going to see how much rain is within some of this area here within a short period of time. So already within this red, which indicates 2 to 3 inches, maybe even 4 inches of rain in some spots. You can see here late Friday into Saturday morning. This would be around midnight. Lot of precipitation falls here. A lot of precipitation. And then even more precipitation as it continues to move on through into Saturday morning. And look at how much rain. Look at this. 4 inches of rain per 6 hours within some of these areas here. Lot of rain on top of the storm surge that'll be surging in. So that is really interesting to say the least with how much rain there could potentially be. And then just for fun to see how this progresses, areas near Birmingham could potentially see some higher amounts of precipitation. Areas south of that could see higher amounts as well, and upwards of 4 inches. Even Atlanta could potentially see some higher amounts of precipitation as this continues to move on through. But other areas, you know, like say the border of Georgia and Florida, not really all too much rain. Tennessee, not too much. Northern Louisiana, not too much. Texas, not too much. We'll actually take a look at the total 96-hour rain here. Rainfall. And just by looking at this, most of the rain is consolidated within here. You could see some here along the coast of Louisiana. But you can see how most of this rain is consolidated here. And if you are, I mean, there is a bit of rain here across portions of southern Georgia, so it honestly would have to depend. If you're closer to like Jacksonville in Florida, then not as much. But if you're like further west in like western portions of Georgia, central to southern portions of Alabama, even into southern Mississippi and Louisiana, you guys can see some higher amounts of rain. And thank God this area is not over land, because that is almost 12 inches of rain from the entire system, according to the Euro. And then here's the GFS as well. And the GFS actually says that some areas here, overland actually gets 10 inches of rain in total from this event. So over here near Grand Isle, over here near Biloxi, lot of rain falling from this system, and the GFS actually says that there will be a lot more rain that will head west, more or less, in some of these areas. So places like Baton Rouge and Lafayette could also be impacted, according to the GFS. And typically, the European model and the GFS, GFS is a bit more west, the Euro is a bit more east. I actually learned that from another guy on YouTube, so that was pretty fun. I love to watch other people's weather content because you know, they have some really interesting perspectives that, you know, I don't even think of sometimes. And as I said, I'm still new to tropical systems, but you know, I know enough to know what I'm talking about, I believe. But I believe that there's a lot of rain over areas that have seen too much of it. I mean, there's been a lot of flash flood warnings over the past 2 weeks in some of these areas, and we're already getting an absorbent amount of rain with this system as this continues to move about. So what happened to David Schlotthauer? So I actually was talking to him in a VC a couple days ago, and he's currently experiencing a lot of heat in California. I was talking about the temperatures over there and how they've been getting to triple digits. And so he was talking about there could be some instances to where he may not be able to upload because his computer might overheat due to the fact that his room actually is very more or less hot. But yeah, that's what happened to David Schlotthauer, or at least that's my hypothesis as to what happened to David. He'll be back up when the heat wave ceases to exist. But until then, his activity might be limited. Let's see. Do I think Cocoa, Florida will get anything? Let's take a look. As I said, put down your questions in the chat. I do want to try and answer them for you all. I appreciate all the new subscribers we've had today, all the people who've liked the video. I appreciate that. That helps me a lot. By liking the video, you guys actually help me get it onto more people's recommended feeds so that we may be able to get it to more people who may need this information. Because if they don't know and they get hit by this system, they could potentially be flooded and not have an area to go. So I appreciate, you know, all the people who liked the video, shared it with friends and family. Really do appreciate it. All right, Cocoa, Florida. I do not believe will get hit by this tropical system. That's over near Orlando, and I don't think they will be impacted. But if they do get a tropical system that moves on through, I will be covering that general area. I cover the entire United States, so I'll be able to have something. Stop putting an ad every 2 minutes on your forecast video, seriously? Well, you see, I try to just put, like, ads on it, but I don't have any, like, domain onto where it actually gets put and stuff like that. But I'll try and see what I can do. If there's a way for me to only put ads in the beginning and the end of my video, then I'll do it that way. But yeah. Highly recommend dropping the subject in the chat that's engaging in drama. Let's see. Central Ohio wind gusts for tomorrow? That's actually an interesting question, honestly. Interesting question. Let's see if I can get something here for you all. Ohio Valley. They do have something in here, do they? Not bad, not bad. All right, we'll do wind gust swath. So potential wind gusts within some of these areas. Could be in upwards of 70 miles per hour according to some spots, which is near, I believe that's a little bit just to the south of Toledo. Sup, Fancy? How do? Sup, Brandon? Hello. Welcome to the live stream. So yeah, 70 mile per hour winds with that system that's going to be moving on through tomorrow. But regardless, pretty crazy as this moves about. Let's keep answering questions here, if we have any. How strong do I think that the wind will be for Lapis with this storm? So Lapis or Laplace, Louisiana, which would be right around New Orleans. Which, by the way, if I butchered that, I apologize. But Laplace, it depends upon where this actually makes landfall. You guys could see an upwards of tropical storm force winds within some spots of it. You could potentially see that. We'll take a look at that here. So wind speeds in some of these areas right there. So Laplace, you guys could see wind speeds in upwards of 20 miles per hour in some spots sustained. 20, but then wind gusts could be in upwards of 35 to 40. And yeah, that could potentially be where that could be potentially to where you could have some damaging winds creating some toppled trees and power lines. Do we have a hurricane yet? You're still ready? We don't have a hurricane yet. Wasn't forecasted to have a hurricane at all. But whenever there is the potential for a hurricane, I will alert you guys in my videos. And so, yeah, just, I guess stay tuned. Where do I think it will make landfall? Interesting you should say that, because I do have a little graphic of that. A little mini graphic. Let's go to PowerPoint. I didn't update this as of tonight, but We might as well look at it anyways. So take a look at good show. Scroll all the way down. You guys can see how many slides I have actually. Look at this. I have 94 slides for my videos. I'm crazy. Eyelids are too heavy, I know, right? What do you think is going to be for Southern Maryland? Not too much. Not too active. So here's what I was talking about with the potential landfall. So this is my tropical cyclone landfall outlook prior to them issuing a cone of uncertainty. So right within the red, right within this kind of lightish red, that was where it was possible. Right in the dark red is where it was probable. And I still stand by this. Now, even though the National Hurricane Center has a warning cone here, and I'll actually open the image in a new tab. There's your warning cone. It says that it will most likely make landfall somewhere either near the Vermilion Bay area, all the way over towards just a little bit west of Grand Isle. And even if we take a look at Radar Omega here, it could potentially make an impact somewhere around Morgan City here, according to the National Hurricane Center. So definitely something that we're going to want to watch out for. And as I mentioned here earlier on in the live stream, which I'll be ending it here pretty soon because I do want to get to bed. Either that or I do want to take a look at models again just to see if I can get another consensus. But most of the activity will be on the northern or eastern side of the tropical system. So if you're to the west of the cone of uncertainty, like Lake Charles and stuff like Beaumont, all the way over to Houston, Galveston, you guys most likely won't be impacted as much with this tropical system. But areas like New Orleans, like Gulfport, like Biloxi, like Mobile, you guys could potentially see some storm surge in upwards of 1 to 3 feet, as well as the potential for some flooding with rainfall rates in upwards of 10 inches throughout the entire event. So pretty high amounts of rain for areas that have seen significant amounts of rain within the past month, even less than that. So really something interesting to say the least. We've gained a lot of subscribers here today. I really do appreciate all what you guys have done for me today. 12,169 subscribers. Yep. That's pretty crazy. I really do appreciate you all. I really do. Keep sliding to the east. Yeah, it does, but they put the guidance right in between the GFS and the Euro model, which is typically a safe bet, honestly. Typically a safe bet. For the last few years, a storm has come in like this, and is the first one is usually a Cat 1 by the time it hits land. Well, the only thing about this is that there's a lot of dry air and a lot of wind shear with it that will be impacting the system. And so it's not exactly going to look the part heading into Louisiana. I'll show you guys what I mean here in a second. We'll look at this, and then we'll take more questions, and then we'll end the live stream. Because as I said, I do want to, sleep a little bit. So we're gonna take a look at the dry air. We're taking a look at different heights in the atmosphere with this. So here is the lower parts of the atmosphere, lower level. This is these two boxes right here are mid-level, and this is the upper level parts of the atmosphere. And just by looking at the mid-level parts of the atmosphere, you can see the brown right within some of these areas, even the upper parts of the atmosphere, the brown right within there, that's indicating a lot of low humidity, a lot of dry air. A lot of these greens and purples are indicating high humidity, a lot of moisture, and a lot of thunderstorm activity. And so you can see how the dry air is expected to seep around the tropical system, and it will basically look like this little comma-shaped system right within there. And so this is a lot of dry air seeping around that could potentially make it a lot less moist than it actually needs to be. And seems how tropical systems need moisture in order to function, in order to sustain. It's not looking all too good for it to become a hurricane. So it will most likely be a tropical storm at landfall. I'm expecting 45 to 50 mile per hour winds at landfall, maybe around 1,004 millibars, maybe 1,005 millibars, something like that. But that's what I'm anticipating from this tropical system as it heads closer and closer towards Morgan City. All right, take a couple more questions here. And then I'll get out of your hair. When do I think we will see our next system after this? If you're talking about the Atlantic, then I'll have to take a look here live with you all to get my gut reaction. But if we're talking about like anything else, there is a system that's forming off in the Pacific that could create monsoon conditions for the United States. So pretty interesting that I'll have to show you all for. Thanks for all the hard work. We'll be watching the weekend. Geez, keep the ads. We'll watch them for support. Nah, I don't want to be. I want the video to kind of flow all the way through. So I didn't realize that I had ads in the middle of my video, but I'm actually gonna try and figure out if I could take it out in the middle of the video and just put it in the beginning and the end. So, all right, take a look at the GFS. See what all is happening. Let's actually start from the beginning. There we go. Okay, so there's the tropical system right there. Hits the coast, potential Claudette. There's also the other system there in the Pacific that I was talking about with the potential to create some rain, monsoon maybe, possibly. And then this is Friday of next week. Another system that could potentially form in the Pacific. A system to form in the Atlantic potentially at that same time. What happened here? Looks like a boundary moved on through. Yep, see ya, Wade. See ya. You look kind of tired. You good? Yeah, I'm going to be ending the video, the live stream here pretty soon. But yeah, there's the low pressure with the boundary there. Most likely a cold front. Typically, tropical systems form off of those little boundaries. So we got a lot of convergence, and yeah, there's your next tropical system. So, you know, it's still a little bit far out, but we could see something at the end of next week. The end of next week over in the middle of the ocean. And then in regards to something that could, you know, impact the United States, according to the GFS, doesn't look like there is a whole lot that we could see from this. I would watch out for, let's see, what is this? Second week of July. So it'd be like the week of the 4th through the 10th. I would watch out for that right within there. Could the north side strengthen? If it does, you're in trouble. Well, the north side will be over land, so most likely not. It'll be the eastern side that will most likely do it. Your weather's going to be kind of boring. When could you get some nice storms? Well, I would probably need to have an idea as to where you would reside in order to answer that question, but yeah. Take a look at the latest satellite imagery here. Oh, so there's a little surface low right within here. So another little mini embedded system. You can't see it all too well, but there is a little bit something right here. More thunderstorm initiation right within here as well, so you could potentially see something with that. That's water vapor. Obviously, we can't show true color. Have you ever heard of the brown ocean effect? No, I have not. No, I have not. Will Tampa see any of this? Most likely some rain, some passing showers moving on through, but otherwise not all too much. We have 195 likes here on this video. I really do appreciate what all you guys have done. I really do. So thank you so much. Yeah, broad rotation right there. More broad rotation right there. So you can see the general spin in the clouds. Change my color here. General spin in the clouds right here. You can also see a little bit of spin right within here. So just watch as this continues to move on through. You can see you have a little bit of spin right there. And then with the convergence, if you look very closely, you can see there is a little bit of vorticity right within there. But we're watching for this area right within here for a new location for a low to form. And that's where the tropical system will start to form out and turn into Claudette as things continue to move about. Denton, Texas? Probably not anytime soon, honestly. Your severe weather season's starting to kind of get starting to be done. Is it going to be bad in Laurel, Mississippi? Well, you guys could get some significant amounts of rain, so there could be some flooding over in your area. Let's take a look at the Weather Prediction Center, actually. See how much rain they are predicting for this event. Here's the tropical rainfall graphic. And Laurel would be somewhere right within here, right on the border of the 2 to 4 inches and the 4 to 6 inches. So you guys could get some rain from this. I don't think it'll be too significant for you all. I think it'll be a lot more significant to areas that are closer to the coast, though. But there could be the chance for something, for some quick spin-ups of tornadoes within the outer bands. So that's something to monitor as well. But yeah. Okay, last bit here. I talked a lot about the tropical system in the beginning of the live stream. As I said, I am going to be uploading a video tomorrow morning. So if you guys want to stay tuned for that, it'll be obviously not a live stream and it won't be as long as the video here today because I've been interacting with you all. But it will be a 25 to 30 minute video, unless if I can make it shorter somehow, then it will be less than that. But it'll be some sort of video that will update you all on all the characteristics and what happened overnight. And so if you guys want any sort of updates with this tropical system, you know, the potential of it to shift east or west, whether it's intensities and stuff like that, or if you want to stick around for more of my content later on, whether it's severe weather or tropical weather, say there's like another hurricane or something like that that forms in like July or August, and you want information, feel free to come back to the channel. I'll be able to give you all the information you may need so that you guys may be able to plan accordingly. I'll say that much. But a rather interesting water vapor image right within there. And I still see that little spin right within here. That's really interesting. You like my presentation? Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Is this tropical system impacting Cuba? Possibly. I mean, there's some thunderstorms over there that are impacting Cuba, but it won't be directly impacted. It'll be like indirectly impacted. You know what I mean? All right, we're going to talk about the final thoughts here. Final thoughts on this tropical system. Pop my neck for this. There we go. Okay, final thoughts on this tropical system. First things first, it is not organized right now. It is, it's very much so a mess. And so this isn't a classic tropical system that you would anticipate like you see on TV with satellite imageries. This is an early setup for the tropical systems, and how this thing will progress. It'll basically represent it in the look as well. It'll be not exactly all too good looking, more or less, with a lot of dry air seeping around and creating less amounts of thunderstorms. And so the southwestern portion of the actual storm, or the southwestern quadrant, will most likely not have as many thunderstorms, as well as the strong wind shear evident from the satellite analysis showing that these thunderstorms, if they do fire up, they will most likely head further and further away from the center area of low pressure. So that would be another lack of thunderstorm activity, most likely on the northwestern quadrant. And so areas on the eastern side of the center area of low pressure system, most likely areas near New Orleans, Biloxi into Mobile, will probably see a significant amount of rain, as well as some storm surge in upwards of 1 to 3 feet anticipated. And so if you guys live within those areas, or if you know anyone who lives within those areas, I would tell them to plan accordingly in however way they would want to. But as of right now, this system is not organized, but it's expected to organize by tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon, and the hurricane hunters will be sending out their crew again into the system like they did earlier on today. You can see their track and how they traveled through all of these thunderstorms right here. But there is a actually, let's see if I can get it a little better. Can I fix it? Yes, I can. There I go. So you can see how the hurricane hunters moved on through and moved about with the tropical system, and what path they took to try and find the center area of low pressure. And so they'll probably send another one out tomorrow to try and figure out as to where it is. But as of right now, it doesn't look like it's doing a whole lot. The intensity in regards to where this is heading, the National Hurricane Center really believes that this will become a tropical storm by landfall. So they have issued tropical storm warnings for portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama along the coast there, from Intracoastal City all the way over to Mobile and the border of Alabama and Florida. And so if you guys live over there, highly recommend you guys monitor your conditions. And if you're below sea level, get to higher ground. Unless if you have those levees there, then you might be able to withstand it. But on top of the storm surge there from 1 to 3 feet, you could potentially be seeing rain in upwards of 10 inches within your area, and that is some significant rain on top of the potential storm surge that could add up to significant amounts of flooding in localized areas. I personally believe that this will be a 45 to 50 mile per hour tropical system. The National Hurricane Center believes that this will be a 45 mile per hour tropical storm. And so we could be talking about, from now on, Tropical Storm Claudette. That's the name of the tropical system right there. Tropical Storm Claudette could potentially form and could be impacting portions of southeastern Louisiana, southern portions of Mississippi and Alabama, as well as central portions of Mississippi and Alabama, into the panhandle of Florida and western into northern portions of Georgia. We also have the thunderstorm activity up to the north in Wisconsin and Indiana, as well as Illinois and Iowa. And that'll be moving about throughout that general vicinity tonight. Probably have some strong damaging winds with that, but otherwise, anything too significant to report on. But we will take a look at it. And here it is. So this is these thunderstorms as they progress. And northern Illinois might actually be missed by this. It might be Wisconsin that gets this according to the NAM model. So Rockford may not even get a whole lot of these thunderstorms, ironically. These storms, of course, they go around Illinois again. Of course they go around Illinois. That's according to that model. I'm going to take a look at the HRRR here, see if it agrees. And the HRRR does say that you could get some thunderstorms at around 4 a.m. So, I mean, it won't be like extraordinarily significant, or at least as significant as it probably will be in Wisconsin. But you could get, or Wisconsin, but you still could potentially get some stuff. And then Ohio, they could potentially see some widespread damaging winds with some strong amounts that could be heading it towards Columbus and Dayton. So really something we're going to have to watch out for. As I said, I'll upload a video for you guys tomorrow morning to update you all on both the severe weather and tropical threat. But for right now, looks like that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for coming out to the brief live stream to update you all on what all is going on. If you like the content, please be sure to subscribe, like the video, as well as share this with friends and family and on social media like Facebook and Twitter. That would be greatly appreciated. And also follow me on social media. That would also be greatly appreciated. Turn on notifications. As I said, stay up to date with all my content because I'll be uploading a lot of it until weather starts to die down a bit. But for right now, I'm going to head to bed, get some shut-eye before I create my video tomorrow morning. I'll be getting somewhat upwards of 6 hours of sleep. So we'll see. But yep, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow morning. So peace out, everyone.